my beautiful artist. So on my walk yesterday afternoon, I came across these fun little blue flowers. They kind of have a purplish tint to them. So of course I picked a few and thought, what a great little flower to paint. Let's go ahead and give them a try. I am using, as you know, my favorite student grade paper, my Artisto paper. This is the old cover, by the way, so the new cover is bright purple. These are not cotton, but I get asked that a lot, but they are a wonderful student grade paper. They have a really nice texture, perforated, so you can tear out your painting. And the best thing of all is I keep these in all kinds of little booklets together, and you can label them by the seasons, by colors, whatever you want, and they're great reference. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using my Winsor Newton palette, which I don't use too often, but thought today I would go ahead and play with those. They're a little bit more expensive, so I don't do my day-to-day painting with them. If you want the student grade paints that I talk about a lot, those are the Paul Rubens MeiLiang. They're fabulous for painting every day. They're a really great price point. And if you're kind of a lazy daily painter like me, you don't have to mix all the colors. And as well for beginners, you don't have to worry about trying to mix colors. So I'm also using my Dugato brush. This is the number 4. I pick that up occasionally and use that. For beginners, again, if you don't want to dive right into the more expensive Princeton brushes, you get a whole set of these depending on what country you're in, of either 10 or up to 13, and they're like $12. So really great brush. Let's go ahead and get started. These are like a kind of a baby blue with a bit of purple. So I'm using the Winsor Newton lavender. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add, by the way, too, I've got my little Meeden water palette here, one for cleaning, one for rinsing. Really great little heavy duty ceramic water well that I love. Okay, so here is the purple, and then I'm just going to mix a tiny bit of either the cerulean blue with it. I think that'll be the one. I could almost even use some of this cerulean blue with a lighter value, meaning it just has some more water in it for some of these flowers. So what I want to do is let's just practice getting that color. Let me mix some of that purple with some of that blue. So I want it to be even a little bit more blue and a little bit lighter value. So something like that. If I was to hold that next to my flowers, that feels pretty close. It might have a little bit more of the purple in it, but I'm going to use some of the blues, some of the purples together. And if you're using your MeiLang palette, that sky blue would be really pretty. It's like a baby blue, so that's what I'm going to use. All right, the one thing I did notice is these little flowers have 5 petals, which, you know, I do a lot of five petal flowers. Those are kind of popular. And I'm going to start with my lightest value first, meaning the most water, so my lightest value of that color. If this was my darkest value, then I add a little bit more water. There's maybe a mid value, and then my lightest value. So I want to make sure, I know I talk about these values a lot, but they really do make a huge difference. I'm going to make sure in my painting I'm incorporating my darkest, my mid, and my lightest, because that's really going to bring that interest and depth to your paintings. And I think sometimes with beginners, we don't think about that, and we end up painting a whole painting with the same color, the same value tone. So make sure you practice this on a swatch first, and then as you're painting, make sure you start with your light values, meaning maybe 20% pigment, 80% water. You move to your mid value, which would maybe be 50-50. and then your 80% pigment, 20% water for your darkest values. And those are going to be the ones that really pop out in front. So what I noticed is these kind of hang in little bunches. So and if you need to take a pencil and, you know, maybe just draw some guidelines in for yourself, you could certainly do that. And what I mean by that is, so you have your little center, and if you needed to draw 5 guidelines, you can do that just to make sure all the petals are facing back towards the center of your flower and not getting kind of wonky and crooked. And then just follow those. If you don't want those pencil lines to show, just make sure that you draw them in faintly. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. And then as you notice, I'm also changing up the color just a bit. So this particular flower, I added a little bit more blue, just tapping into the center of these like that. And we're just going to keep going. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And while those are wet, what I want to do is I might take my 6 long round now, my Princeton, because it's got a really thin point, and I might go ahead and add in my stems. And the stems on these all kind of fed back in to the one main point on the main branch. So I'm just going to do something like that. And now I'll go in and start painting some more of these. Like that. And I'm using, again, those different values. So some are lighter, some are darker, some have more blue, some more purple, and it really creates a lot of interest. There we go. And there was just a tiny bit of maybe brown on those right here. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of that. And then back to my flowers. 4 and 5. Maybe some purple. And now what I think I will do is go in with a darker, some of my darker values. I think here I've got some light values, I've got some mid values, but let's go in and create a little darker value. So I'm picking up some of my paint. So for that darker value, I want to use maybe at least 75% paint, pigment, and then the same with that. So look at what a darker value that is. Now this still is movable. It's like that tea consistency. And I'm going to go in and add some more of these flowers and watch what it does with this darker value. So let's just turn our paper a bit. Even though these really weren't a dark purple, but it really makes it pop out. So I think I will pick up some more of that blue. And go in with that, a little darker value. Want a little bit more of a true blue with that. Something like that. And let's just add in a few more of these. You know, make this yours. This is about having fun and your imagination. So if you see more of a blue or whatever color you see, use that color. Make these yours. So they kind of came out in these bunches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. And as you can see, I'm going to go back and maybe make this one a darker value. And keep in mind your composition. So if I put a dark flower here, I want to add them in all around because we don't want it to be too heavy and color-wise down here on the left corner. So I want to spread those out just a little bit. I'll probably add a darker purple one right here. So I'm going to add one. Well, I've got this one. So actually I think that kind of evens it out. But let's put a little bit darker purple one here, maybe a little bud here. So I noticed these had some little buds like this. They kind of came out like that. And then I'm going to go in with some of, pick up my 6 long round for that nice long thin tip. And let's bring that in. And there you go. Now that I have this, what I want to do is add in some of those little leaves, which they look like really just a C stroke. So we'll start adding those in, maybe right here, right here. Just kind of placing them around, keeping in mind that composition and the values. So use a little bit darker green if needed, darkening that value. And those leaves are really going to pop out. There's a couple bigger ones down the branch. So add some of those in. Like that. And then it even had, I don't know if you can see these, but some of these little buds that hadn't opened yet. So I'm just going to add in a few of those. Now, if you notice there, I have just a tiny bit too much water on my brush because it's almost creating a puddle. So look at that. I just tap it off and now I'm good. And just add in a few of those here and there. And look how fun, look how pretty that is. Just add in a few more. So I've got 2 of those. So I feel like I need another one over here somewhere. Like that. And there you go. I'm pretty happy with that. I might make this a little more purpley blue. So pick up that darker value and just go in to this one here. Yeah, I feel like that balanced it out a tiny bit. Yeah, that was good. Now for shadows in your leaves, you can add in some of that purple. I always, for shadows in my leaves, will add in whatever the color is of the flower, and it creates a really beautiful shadow on your leaves, and it kind of brings a unity to the painting. The last thing, and you don't need to do this necessarily, but I noticed the flower had some little dark veins. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now this is where you could use that Dugato, but you'd have to have a very, very light hand to just get the tip, and you want to hold your brush straight up and down. So you're only using the tip of the brush. I'm going to use my 6 long round because it has a very thin tip, and I'm going to go in and just draw some of those little veins that I noticed in the flower. You don't have to do this if you're not a detail person. That's perfectly fine. But I did notice it had veins in all of the flowers. So there you go. That's just a little bit of detail. And I think we're good here. I hope you'll give these a try. I just love playing with 5-petal flowers. I think they're just simple and easy, and you can make a whole bouquet out of them. And then remember here that we used our values. We have our light value, our mid values, and our dark values that are going to pop out. And then also using some different sizes, some little bit smaller ones, some larger one. And remember, if you're going to use these variety of colors, you don't just have all your blues in one corner. You're kind of spreading them around. So your eye is coming up through here, it's out this way, and it's weaving in and out of your painting. I also added in these little buds, and those as well are leading your eye around your painting. So you're coming in here, and here's another one. So they're nice and evenly spread out for interest. All right, everybody, I hope you give these a try. I thought they were quite fun. I'm trying to grab you one here so you can see it out of my vase here. I'm constantly on my walks or my hikes picking up these fun little flowers, and I bring them back and Google them, and then I paint them because it's such a great reference. And I hope it inspires you to do the same, or maybe just going out in your garden. All right, thanks everybody for being here. I love our little community here together, having so much fun with you guys, and can't wait for 2024 to continue doing some of these fun things. I also love your suggestions. They're very inspiring, and let's keep having fun. All right, talk to you soon.